On January 27, 1959, 10 Soviet hikers began a journey towards Gora with the hopes of gaining their Grade 3 hiking certification. One of them turned back due to illness, but ironically, that illness likely saved his life, as not one of the other 9 hikers went home alive. On February 26, 1959, a search party looking for the missing group found a truly terrifying scene, a bleak campsite, complete with a tent that was torn apart from the inside out. This brought the investigators more questions than answers. While the diaries and photos retrieved from the hikers and the camp itself show every move the group made day to day, they only covered up to the incident, with no entries or photos to help tell their story. Thus, what happened on that mountain has been a mystery that's taunted millions for decades. And now, we'll take a look at this incredible mystery, the theories about what happened, and dig a little deeper in. The Dark Chronicles. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. The group formed at the end of 1958 as a cross-country skiing expedition with the intention to cross the northern Ural mountain range in what is now Russia and reach a mountain called Otorten. Led by 23-year-old radio engineering student Igor Dyatlov from the Ural Polytechnical Institute, the 10-person group was made up of mostly other students from the university. This included 2 women and 8 men in total, all after a particular goal. The group were all Grade 2 certified hikers and were looking to get their Grade 3 certifications, the highest certifications available. To accomplish this, they needed to travel at least 300 kilometers on one of the approved routes. The group were issued their route book by the Sverdlovsk City Committee of Physical Culture and Sport on January 23, 1959. This approved them to take the course that they'd selected, but also warned them that it was considered a Category 3 route, and February just happened to be the most difficult time to undertake such an endeavor. Undeterred, the group left the same day that they received the approval and boarded a train to the city of Serov. From there, they took another train and then a bus to arrive in Vizay on January 25th. They then took a truck to District 41, a small logging community, where they hired a sled to take them and their gear 24 kilometers to an abandoned mining settlement. At this point, 21-year-old hiker Yuri Yudin, who had been suffering from chronic pain in his joints and a congenital heart defect, decided that he was too ill to continue. He went back to the sled while the remaining 9 in the group picked up their backpacks and began their long journey towards the mountains. The entire journey should have taken the group 18 days, meaning that they would arrive back in Vizay on February 12th, but something went terribly wrong. Piecing together exactly what happened to the 9 hikers is a mystery that's still debated to this day. What is known has been assembled from the cameras and diaries belonging to the hikers, which were discovered at the devastated campsite. But these only told the first part of what must have been an absolutely terrifying story. According to the notes, the group traveled on skis, camping each night and moving through the day until they reached the Ospaya River and pitched their tent near the riverbank on January 30th. The next day, the hikers reached the highland area. They assembled and secured the climbing gear, but increasingly bad weather conditions and severely reduced visibility forced them to turn back. The group returned to the riverbank, confident that they'd make the climb the following day. The morning of February 1st, they constructed a cache to store their food and other supplies that they didn't need for the climb, such as personal items and extra clothing. Their intention was to collect it again on the way back. The goal was to lighten their loads to make climbing easier, and they did just that, offloading over 55 kilograms of food alone. However, building that cache took time, and this set the group back. They ended up getting a late start, likely already tired from the activity, and wound up fighting another snowstorm that pushed them westward, over 500 meters off the path that they'd planned out towards the top of the mountain. By the time the hikers realized they traveled so far off course, they were losing daylight. The decision was made to make the camp on the north side of the mountain, though to this day it's unclear exactly why. Just 1.5 kilometers away was a forest which could have offered much better protection from the elements. When later questioned about it, Yudin, the student who turned back, suggested that the group leader Dyatlov either wanted to practice camping on the slope of a mountain or simply didn't want to backtrack any further than they'd already been forced to. Regardless of the reasoning, the decision was made and the fate of the 9 hikers was essentially sealed. Before Yuri Yudin turned back, Dyatlov had informed him that he expected the trek to take longer than they had originally anticipated, leading to nobody so much as raising an eyebrow when the group didn't check in on the previously agreed upon date of February 12th. That was when they were scheduled to arrive back in Vizay, and Dyatlov was to send a telegram to the group's sports club. Sadly, because of this new information from Yudin, no search parties were sent until the families of the missing began providing pressure to find their loved ones. On February 21st, 9 days after the group was expected, the head of the sports organization finally sent out the first search parties. Comprised mostly of student volunteers and some faculty, the groups were soon joined by members of the police and military forces and supported by helicopters and planes, flying over the planned path the hikers had mapped out before leaving. Despite the number of people searching and aerial support, it took 5 days to find the first significant sign of the missing hikers. Unfortunately, that sign was truly terrifying: the group's torn up and abandoned campsite. What exactly happened is still debated to this day, but when asked about it, Mikhail Sharavin, who was the one who discovered the site, said the tent was half torn down and covered with snow. It was empty and all the group's belongings and shoes had been left behind. The tent itself had been ripped open from the inside and was half collapsed. More surprising still were the trail of footprints leading away from the tent, all of them clearly made by people in their socks, barefoot, or with just a single shoe on, prompting investigators to ask the eerie yet obvious question: what sudden occurrence could make 9 people abandon everything, cut their way out of a tent and walk away barely dressed in sub-zero weather? The next day, after following the footprints to the edge of the forest, where the remains of the campfire was evident, volunteers found 2 of the hikers unalived, both dressed only in their undergarments. The team also found evidence that at least one of them had climbed up a nearby tree, but what they were looking for is also unknown. Within a week, 3 or more of the hikers, including the leader Dyatlov, were discovered nearby, each of them in positions that suggested that they were attempting to return to the campsite where they were unalived. In the evening of March 2nd, one of the search teams discovered the cache the hikers had constructed, untouched since they built it over a month prior. Sadly, it was nearly 2 months before the rest of the unfortunate hikers were finally found. All of them were buried under snow in a nearby ravine. Still to this day, no explanation has ever been determined as to what truly happened to the group. In the decades that followed the mysterious losses in the Dyatlov Pass incident, it seems more questions have been found than answers. One of the first discoveries to deepen the mystery was found during the autopsies of the hikers. 3 of them were unalived by physical causes, including some fractures that, according to the experts, would have taken the force of a car crash to deliver. Evidence tampering was also reported, with some items from the hikers and their camp somehow vanishing or was never found, despite being in the photographs taken by the lost group. It was also discovered that some of the clothing recovered from the grisly scene was radioactive. Specifically, 2 sweaters and 1 pair of pants were found to have abnormally high radioactivity readings when tested. But how could this be? In 2018, one of the hikers, Sasha Zolotaryov, was exhumed and their DNA tested, only for it to be reported that there was no match to any of his living relatives. Is this a mystery around the student's true birth parents, or what was dug up maybe not him? The mounting questions led the investigation into the Dyatlov Pass incident being officially reopened in February of 2019. There have been no shortage in the number of theories put forward by both experts and amateur sleuths. These have included weather conditions such as lightning strikes, avalanches, and hurricanes, or hungry animals like bears and wolves, and even anomalies such as gravity fluctuations and magnetic radiation. It's also been suggested that the group was targeted by the KGB, either due to something one of them knew or as a test of some new technology. Then the event was covered up, however poorly, by the Soviet government. According to another group of experts, the entire ordeal was perpetrated by a creature that's familiar to many, but never actually proven to exist: the Yeti. Also called the Abominable Snowman, or by local indigenous peoples, the Menk. This massive humanoid creature has been searched for by countless individuals, many of whom have claimed to snap photos of the beast, yet nothing substantial in terms of proof has ever been brought forward. However, when the film from one of the hikers' cameras was developed, it revealed one of the last photographs taken by the group was of a mysterious shadowy figure lurking in the forest. Other paranormal theories have been suggested, such as a time vortex, UFOs, and ghostly floating orbs of light. Another group of hikers who had been traveling just 50 kilometers south of the Dyatlov Pass around the time the 9 people met their end reported seeing strange orange balls floating in the sky near that mountain. Could this horror story have been caused by a paranormal force that we don't understand? Whether it was a natural disaster, the result of a government test and cover-up, or the work of otherworldly forces, something truly horrible occurred on that side of the mountain. 9 hikers never saw home again, and the truth is that we may never know why. One thing is for certain, if you're planning on an expedition, perhaps you should save yourself a terrifying encounter and travel during warmer months. And of course, you should never, ever take the Dyatlov Pass. But thank you guys for watching, and if you like this new documentary style video, please let me know in the comments and leave a like, of course. And if you really liked it, share it, because all those things help me out tremendously in the algorithm. And if you'd like to catch me on Twitch, I'm live almost every day. Link is in the description. Other than that, I'll see you next time.